Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Oh, you have no idea how close it's become. We came tonight to this being an absolute disaster. So I set everything up earlier on tonight. Everything was going absolutely perfect. About 20 to 9, I decided to click the start stream, and what that does is basically the software that does all of the streaming starts to send the signal to YouTube, and you can check that as a nice stable stream. And at that point, it decided to tell me, oh yeah, since we updated your streaming software, you need a new driver now for your graphics card, so we won't stream it until then. So it's been a bit of a panic. Literally, I've kind of slid in across the line there about 3 minutes ago. Oh, it was a tight one, but we didn't give up. We didn't give up. So we have a lot of people in the chat tonight. It seems like we've got a nice and lively one. Is this what happens when I have a week off? Should I do live streams every 2 weeks? Would that be better? We've got a lot of folks here. I'm gonna very quickly fly through and pick out a few names here. We've got Flying Mammal. Hello, Ruth. How are you doing? We've got Tony Howell. We've got Carla Schultz. We've got Bloggy. Nice to see you, Bloggy. Long time, mate. We've got Nick Moore in. Hello, Nick. We've got Tom D in. We've got Skullmunchers in as well. Hello, Skullmunch. Tom D, I've just mentioned there. We've also got Pete Smith is in as well. Christopher Warden in. It says afternoon. Hello, mate. We've also got the Agents of Sigmar in as well. Hello, boys. I don't know which one of you it is. If anybody hasn't checked out the Agents of Sigmar YouTube channel, please make sure that you do check it out. I think the guys are streaming later on tonight as well. So if you've had enough of my rambling and you want to move over to there later on as well, feel free to do so. But definitely check the guys out. Have a really, really good channel. A lot of the stuff focused around Underworlds, but they do cover some other stuff as well. So yeah, check that one out. Christian is in. Hello, Christian. Buddy. Who have I missed anybody yet? Robert Zunk popped in as well. Al Krabby is in. Where else? Paul Palms. Good evening, Paul. How you doing, mate? Richard Smith. Oh, it just jumped off the chat there as well. Richard Smith. Claudio is in as well. Hello, Claudio. We've got Busey's in. Bobby Clark's in as well. Hello. We've got Marco there. Says hello, Blackjack Legacy and all. He's watching this episode on TV today whilst I assemble and remove the mold lines of his Warcry defiled ruin set. Any hints on what not to glue? I've got half a video filmed, mate, about how to put it together. But you can dry fit everything. So I went through the whole thing and dry fitted it all together first. It all holds in place. It's a pretty good set, actually. But I'll give you some tips after the stream, mate. Vaughan Wood's in. Gary Powell is in. Craig Lowther's in. We've got Lee in there scouting the web as well. Mark Berracloth is in as well. We've got BKMBBQ. Marcus is in as well. It's his first time here, and share your excitement for Warcry. Nice to see you, Marcus, and welcome to the live streams. We've got Barry's in. Jared Winnie's. Hello. Hello, Andy Rice as well. Beavis Beardman says, yo, hello to you too. Peter Nicholas as well there as well. He says, a special shout out to those I met and spoke to at the Weekender. We'll be touching on that soon, mate. James is in as well. Tim's in. Jesper's in. I think that covers everybody there. So I have no idea what you've all been chatting about there, but we'll catch up with that stuff. So yeah, I had a week off last week. I was on a flight heading over to Munich last week for the live stream as well. So unfortunately, I couldn't do the live stream. I think it's the first one I've missed in quite some time, and I really did miss it. And the worst part of it was actually the Wi-Fi in the hotel was really good. And had I took my laptop with me, I probably could have done some kind of impromptu stream, but we know for the future, eh? I know to book that hotel again, that's for sure. What else have I been up to? So, so last weekend, not this weekend just gone, the weekend before was the Top Table Legacy Weekender 2. That's the 3-day event that I run, or co-host and co-run with Jay and Steve from Top Table Gaming. I think, off the top of my head, I think we had about 65 to 70 people there in attendance right over the 3 days. We had all sorts of games running that weekend as well, far too many to mention. But on the Sunday, I did run not only the first Warcry event that I've ever ran, I also ran the first ever tournament event or competitive play event that I've ever ran. So I learned a lot from that, and I thought it would be worth sharing some of the stuff that I learned today. And if you're wanting to run a Warcry event, I can sort of talk about some Warcry specific stuff. But if you're just wanting to run any kind of tournament or any kind of event, feel free to ask questions, any advice that you want, and I can tell you what I learned. So I've run 2 of the weekender events now, or co-hosted them if you like, and I've learned bits and pieces from that. But this was the first time I'd run a physical kind of I hasten to say competitive because it's not really meant to be that competitive. It was more friendly play, but everybody still had to play at a time. I still had to match everybody up, and we still had to play by the rules. So yeah, I learned a lot from it. So that's what we'll kind of chat about tonight. I'll touch a bit more on the weekender as well. For those that couldn't make it, I'll talk you through some of the stuff that we did. Some of those folks are in the chat tonight as well, so that'll be cool to hear from them. And we'll also just have a bit of a rabbit, a bit of a ramble, see what you've all been up to. So while you good folks are all saying hello to everybody there, let's see where we're up to. Paul saying, anyone not on the Discord missed out on seeing Andy's 5-star hotel photos? Yes, so just a quick one on that. If anybody is a member here, so you'll see the members in the YouTube chat here with the little the green writing and the little symbols beside their names. They are all members of my group. And also, if you're a Patreon supporter as well, those 2 groups get access to the Discord chat, and we have a bit of a kind of a private ramble in there as well as the days go on. It's quite interesting because we've got a lot of people from all over the world in there, so the chat tends to kind of filter through the days, different time zones start waking up, people saying good morning and then kind of sharing what they're up to. And yeah, so I shared some photographs of the hotel I was staying in last week, which seemed to have a bit of a weird cross hanging above the door frame. I'm not sure what it was trying to scare off, some kind of exorcist type thing. And the smallest single quilt for a double bed I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, 5-star, it certainly wasn't. Where else are we at? Black's Cleric says, looking very dapper, keep that Warcry algorithm going. To be honest, buddy, it's the first time I've been doing this nearly 3 years. It's the first time I've really just niched down and done one game for a while. And because it's the game I'm playing, it's the game I'm enjoying, that's the one that I'm talking about. Christian says, didn't realise there was that many people at the weekender. It didn't feel that busy. Yeah, I think by the time you factor in, obviously, like the likes of myself and Steve and Jay, Luke being there as well, Tommy being there, the idea is that place holds about 125, 130, I think it is. But we intentionally capped it out. We said we wouldn't sell any more than 80 tickets. And since we've chatted to that, because of what we saw from the weekender, I think we'd probably cap it out at 70 next time, just to be on the safe side. So yeah, it was... I think because everybody was kind of spread out at times, we intentionally left plenty of space so that people didn't feel like they were climbing over each other. We intentionally put a bit of extra space between the Middle Earth boards, for example. It maybe didn't... It was in a bigger room, so it didn't feel overly full, and that was exactly the feel we were trying to get to, really. So yeah, that was cool. Marco was saying that he thinks the tournament was competitive, particularly when he won the silver. You're a bit of a dark horse, Marco, when it comes to games. Did you take silver in the... Did you take second place in the Aristea tournament as well, after never playing before? Yeah. Paul McElroy's there. Says, loved the weekender. Nice to see you, Paul. Paul was the winner of our Warcry event as well. So we've got first place, second place in here as well. I'm not sure if we've got the... we had joint third as well, so I'm not sure if those guys are in. Red Rose Wargaming's called in as well. Says the Warcry thing looked awesome. We had a great time. It was also helped by Flying Mammal there as well in a Corvus Cabal cosplay. Easy for me to say. Looked absolutely fantastic. The effort that Ruth puts into making our cosplay stuff is second to none, and it was really nice of her to make that effort for our weekend event as well. So thank you very much, Ruth, for that. Skull Munch saying second's just the first loser. Paul says the weekend looked a lot bigger than I was expecting on Facebook. Wish I could have made it. I think it's... I mean, if anybody is in the Facebook group, they saw the little kind of walk around video that I did, just kind of show all the different the gaming events that were going on as well. Obviously, we had Mantic there. They were very kind to come and attend our weekend event, and they were demoing Kings of War 3, which I think was the first public demo of it anywhere. They were demoing Vanguard. They were also demoing Walking Dead Call to Arms as well. We had a Hellboy game set up as well. So there was plenty of stuff going on from those guys too. Beavis is saying there that he just ran a 24-player Blood Bowl event this Saturday. Tiring but great fun. First of all, congratulations on running an event. Second of all, like I said, this was the first time I'd ever run an event, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed actually not being part of the play and actually being part of the kind of the TO, organising the event. That wasn't something I was expecting, and I'll touch on that bit. Stonemonk Gamer is in as well. Hello, buddy. How are you doing? He says, hungry for some Warcry discussion. Yeah, anything you want to chat about tonight. It doesn't have to be Warcry, but obviously that's what's hot on my lips at the minute. Let's have a chat about all sorts of stuff. What have you been playing? What are you finding? Are people starting to kind of pick up second boxes now and doing a little list building and stuff? Bloggy there saying you should go on the road and bring the weekender stateside. I would love to, mate. Maybe have a little side event at Adepticon or something. Nick Moore says, think it was very friendly, at least in the games that I played. Thank you, Nick. That was the intention of the game. Flying Mammal says, I'm proud of the wooden spoon and didn't even get a spoon. I don't want to say anybody gets a wooden spoon. Nobody finishes last. We have our top 3 places and then everybody else, okay? Paul saying congrats to the winners and the less congrats to the second place winners. And Paul there is also saying, look, yeah, I wasn't there, really. I would have come first in everything. Of course you would. Ruth saying, glad I wore it after hesitating. Wish I had finished it, though. I didn't see where it wasn't finished, to be fair. That's just you kind of obsessing over the bits that you wanted to do. It looked awesome. Bevis is saying it's part of his job to run events. Also known Andy Nuttall Games Shop on Aldershot. Now it all makes sense, mate. Now I recognise the name. So, yeah, let's dig into it then. So, for those that sort of maybe are kind of catching up now a little bit about the Weekender, was that the idea of it was always something that myself and Jay and Steve, when we first met each other, we met at the Kings of War Clash of Kings event. It was the year when Vanguard had just come out. Mantic had invited me down for the weekend to kind of come and hang out and maybe play a bit of Vanguard and kind of be part of the event. Jay was obviously working there because he worked there, and we just sat and we had a few beers and we had a bit of a chat. And what we said was that we both felt the same, that the best part we found about these kind of like tournaments, especially like the multiple day ones, was the chance to hang out in the evening, have a few beers, have a bit of food, kind of have a bit of a chat and get to know people and kind of hang out and play them crazy card games and the little party games and that kind of stuff. And wouldn't it be cool if we could have that kind of an event? And that was when the seed was planted back then. So we got together to create the Top Table Legacy, after Top Table Gaming and BlackJack Legacy, the Top Table Legacy Weekender. And the idea was quite difficult to try and explain to people that we had some organised sort of events. So we had things like Walking Dead, we had Vanguard, we had Middle-earth Strategy Battle, a lot of other stuff as well. And we were trying to explain that it's organised stuff so that people can come and play. Like, so there's something for you to attend for. So if you're a Middle-earth player, you can get a couple of days of gaming in there. But the idea is it's a bit more relaxed. It might be lower point costs. The game rounds might be a bit longer to give you a bit of breathing space. There might be a bigger gap between rounds, so you can hang out and have a chat and sort of get a drink, maybe get a bit of food. And we were trying to get across that message of what it was like to try and have a community-focused, kind of much more fun, relaxed event. The BlackJack Legacy community are an awesome bunch of folks. The guys over at Top Table Gaming and their community, they're a fantastic bunch as well. And the idea was to try and bring them communities together a little bit. And it was very stressful. It took a lot of planning. I'd never done anything like that before. Helped in a huge part by Jay, who obviously, with his work with, when he used to work for Steamforge Games, and also the work he does with Element as well at the Northwest Gaming Centre, he managed to kind of sort of guide me through it. And we had a fantastic sort of weekend. We then obviously had to do it again. We learned a lot from the first one that we took over into the second one. We were slightly more organised, slightly better planned. And we've learned a lot from this one as well that we will take over into a third one at some point. So what we did was we put two games this time up to a public vote, and one of them was Aristea, which we played on the Saturday. We had an event, and the other one was voted for Warcry. So the Warcry event was on the Sunday. It turned out to be a 12-person event, so 12 people signed up for it. And I think for me, especially sort of the first one I'd ever run, 12 was the perfect size for me. And how I decided to organise it was, before everyone arrived on the Sunday, I got in there nice and early. I set up 6 tables with 6 lots of terrain. And what I did was I basically set the terrain up as per one of the match player terrain layout cards. So each table was different, so there was no 2 tables the same. I tried to keep the terrain relatively similar, so there was some kind of high vantage points, there was some blocking terrain, there was some dangerous terrain. I tried to keep that quite similar, and it meant that basically the idea was the terrain was fixed for the entire event. Now, if you play Warcry, you know that you would normally draw a card out and lay the terrain out. Then you would pick out a deployment. You would pick out a scenario, like a win condition, and you'd pick out a twist. But to try and keep it slick, I kept the terrain the same and moved people around the tables so they didn't play on the same table twice, or tried not to. I then picked, we had 4 rounds. I picked 4 win conditions from the core rulebook, and if you look at those ones from the match player in the core rulebook, they also give you the deployment areas as well. So what that meant was that was key, really, because it meant I didn't have to try and go around and tell everybody. As long as one person on each of the tables had access to a rulebook, of which they had all brought some with them, they would be able to see what the scenario win condition was and what the deployment was. I then looked at the scenarios that I picked, and I tried to balance them out so it wasn't just it wasn't always a direct kill thing. It wasn't always like a treasure hunt type thing, hiding in the corner with the treasure type of thing. And then I then went through the list of twists and picked out a twist that I thought complemented that particular scenario and didn't unbalance it. So, for example, what I didn't want to do was to make, for example, make people weaker. So some of the twists, I think, basically reduce your strength or something like that. I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to give more strength necessarily to the ones that are all quite powerful. So I think the ones I picked were, actually I've got them here. The ones I picked was the Rainstorm of Gyron, which was basically on a double. You can remove a number of damage points allocated to the fighter. So that one meant that people could heal up in that battle. I did Battle of Wits, so each player received an additional wild dice at the start of the game. I did Winds of Fate, so players roll 7 initiative dice instead of 6 for each battle round. And then I did Eager for the Fight, which gave each character an extra 1-inch move as well. So I used those ones just to try and kind of like liven it up a little bit. And that seemed to go quite well. There was a few bits of things that I kind of learned from it. I think the last round that I did, if I remember right, it was No Mercy. And I think the idea was once you'd taken out half of the opponent's warband, it was an instant win. And that was combined with the one where you could heal up. The only thing I think, the problem I wouldn't have picked that one again for the last round was there was no way you could get a draw in that particular one. So it meant that basically every one of those last round games went to a 20-0. There was no sort of 15-5s or 10-10s on those particular ones. So that was the only thing I would probably change from those particular scenarios that I did. But yeah, I'll have a quick look in the chat now, see where people are up to, see what the questions are doing, and see how it's going. So, everyone, Flying Mammal saying evening to all the gold members there. VJ's in as well. Good evening, VJ. How you doing, buddy? Dominic's in as well. Hello, Dominic. Dominic was another one of the folks that joined our Warcry event as well. I think most of the players might actually be in the chat tonight. Andy's saying first time on the live chat. I wasn't sure, Andy, if that was you that was with Peter, but I'm pretty sure it is now. Nice to see you, buddy. VJ's got a crazy morning flying interstate, so he's just lurking while he packs. Safe journey, mate, anyway. Bevis says that the mission where you have to run off the board is crap for match play. Discuss. Yes, I did look at that one and I thought the same thing. I was trying to keep them as kind of balanced as I could, really, so that it wasn't a very obvious kind of it wasn't just the all-out kind of the heavy hitters wouldn't necessarily like sort of wipe the floor with it. So yeah, I think I picked decent. I mean, I'll leave it up to the players. But yeah, I think the scenarios weren't too bad. What I would say is that I gave 70-minute rounds because the terrain was already set up. I gave 70 minutes. It was essentially 10 minutes to set up your deployment, talk about the scenario, and then roughly about 60 minutes to kind of play the game. I think through the whole event, only maybe two games. So each round had 6 games playing. Out of those 4 rounds, only 2 games I think ever went to time where I had to stop them. Everybody else seemed to finish in plenty of time, so they were all played relatively quickly, which just goes to kind of show one of the benefits of Warcry as well, is that it's quite easy to run the time at an event like that. I also found that what was I going to say? There wasn't a lot of rules questions. There were some rules questions, but they weren't it wasn't really a debate. It was just I'm not really sure how this works in this situation. Can you help? A little things like cover, a little bit about being underneath an objective. Those kind of things. How does falling damage work? You know, when I take a fall, I've rolled a 1, so I've been sniped off. How do I determine what my what my damage is and stuff? Those kind of questions. And also involved within amongst those 12 players, there was at least 2 people, I think, who had never played a game of Warcry before as well, and managed to go straight into the event and kind of learn on the fly. They'll have obviously watched some videos and battle reports and had a rough idea, but basically went into that event having never played before. And their opponents very graciously also talked them through it and explained rules and helped them a bit. One of those players, Simon, actually finished joint 3rd. So there you go. And Nick was the other one. That's it. I've just seen Nick's name in the chat there. It just reminded me. Nick was the other player who finished 3rd as well. We had, of the 12 people that were playing, we had 8 different factions that were represented. The only 2 factions that were represented more than once was we had 3 Untamed Beasts players and we had 2 Iron Golems players, which I think is perfectly kind of understandable considering they're the starter box factions. But we also had, I think we had Nighthaunt, we had Flesh Eater Courts, we had Gloomspite Gits, we had Corvus Cabal. I don't think we had any Cypher Lords, and I don't think we had any we did have one unmade, I think it was as well. I've probably got it on my laptop somewhere. But yeah, it was. We had a Splintered Fang as well. Yeah, I'm just looking at my models now. But yeah, it was a good mix of stuff. There's a bit more in the chat there as well. Flying Mammal saying 70 minutes worked well. It seemed to. I don't think it seemed to put anybody under kind of too much stress anyway. Nick was saying that the match play favours larger model counts. Yeah, I think it's always the case, but so for example, if you've got to take out half of the warband, if you've got more models, then that's more you have to take out. And if you're a warband that has very limited amount of models, you're only going to be able to take out that many maximum per turn. So it does favour higher model counts, but they're soft and squishy and they go out quick. And it also depends a lot upon how your deployment is. So if it's a scenario where it doesn't deploy everything at once and you have held a lot back in reserve, you can lose half of your stuff before you've even really getting everybody to the field. Paul was saying he played Kill Team with a girlfriend for the first time this weekend. I think she prefers hex-based movement. Yeah, I think a lot of people do, man. My missus as well, she will play certain games. She's not interested really when it comes to miniatures games. She definitely won't play them if it involves a tape measure. But she does she'll be more comfortable with hex base or square movement stuff. Gaz Baller's in as well. Hello, Gaz. How you doing, mate? Fly Mama says, we forgot in the moment it was nice you were on hand to answer anything. Didn't feel silly double checking. Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say, obviously, if you're running an event, the least you can do is either have somebody that is really good with the rules or at least know the rules quite in-depth yourself. There was maybe one I had to kind of reference the rule book just to kind of refresh my own memory, but I knew where I was looking, so it was a very quick answer. Everybody that played basically took those rulings. The only question I had was right at the start of the event. Somebody said, "Can I use a proxied army?" I think they had something like Bretonians that they used in place of, I think it was like the eels and stuff from whatever they're called. I forget their name now. Ideneth Deepkin. And I just asked him, I said, have you got another army you could use? Bearing in mind it's a kind of a fun, friendly event. There's a lot of players never played before, and it would be nice if all of the cards kind of matched the models while people are still learning the event. And he said, yes, no problem at all. I've got Untamed Beasts, I can use them. That was the only thing I had to I ruled on really at that point. And it would have been nice to let him use his other stuff, but I just felt for everybody else in the spirit of that event, if he had another option, I'd prefer to use that one. VJ's in there, trying to make cobblestone sewer bases for my Skaven. I've got green stuff world roller for the cobblestones and a block of air dry clay. Those green stuff world rollers are really, really good actually. And he said he's made a few sections, but they're warping as they dry. Any tips? I was trying not to use green stuff as it's pretty pricey over here. I would probably suggest maybe just putting something on top of them as they're drying. Maybe even just put them upside down to try and stop them curling up a little bit, because it's probably just curling at the edges as it dries, with them being so thin maybe, or maybe try making them a little thicker. Noxie's saying he's just listening while he's painting a lictor. Let's just jump off the top of my screen now. Dominic was playing Iron Jaws as well. Yes, I remember them now. I forgot they were in as well, mate. Gaz said he enjoyed all his games. First time played, didn't do great, but was good fun. Played Splintered Fang. You did well, mate. Don't worry about that. And Flyman was saying there was no unmade. That was it. Yeah, I knew there was no unmade. There was no. Was there no Cypher Lords as well? I don't think there was there? Where are we up to? I'm just reading through the chat here. Skullmunch is saying, I agree, Agents of Sigmar. Oh, he's saying the Unmade are the best warband. I wasn't sure when I first saw them, and it wasn't until I'd read the Warcry anthology I completely changed what I thought of them as a warband. It almost kind of, dare I say it, kind of humanized them slightly. Instead of just being this kind of quite gruesome looking thing, that backstory really kind of fleshed them out a little bit. Where are we at? Agents of Sigmar, they're saying to VG that it's Pete at the minute. I think Robin might be watching too. Well, hello to Pete and Robin if you're there too. All it says they're both lurking. They're under the same name twice. Cool. Yeah, Nick was saying Mark Campbell wanted to play them as Flesh Eater Courts. I think he said it might have been Flesh Eater Courts actually. It was something to do with the models had wings when they said they had wings and stuff. But I just thought for people's first game, I'd rather have just kind of tried to keep it quite simple at that point. Christian's trying to help out there with the air drying clay. We've got Gene in as well. Good evening, Gene. How are you doing? Skullmunch is not a fan of proxying like that, especially as they're on square bases. I didn't actually see them to see if they were on square bases. I didn't, because there was a question somebody asked in the Facebook group the other day: is can you use square bases in a Warcry event? And actually, it's not mentioned in the rule book. I have the tournament pack for the Games Workshop Warhammer World event in December, which I'm going to. If anybody else is, please let me know. It'd be good to say hello. And there's no mention of that in there either. Personally, for me, I probably would have let it go in that event, but I can see it starts to cause problems where there's some edge cases about, especially when you're measuring 3 inches away from something, when you're measuring sort of specific distances for weapons and things. I would have, if there's any doubt and there's another option, that was kind of what I ruled in favour of, really. Where we are, Tom D saying, do you think having the same scenarios and twists victory conditions for all the tables at the same time would work, then change after every round? That's exactly what I did, mate. So basically in the first round, everybody played Hunt for Glory, and if I can find what Hunt for Glory is, I will tell you what it was. I've got to try and find it now. He says, oh, there it is, Hunt for Glory. So Hunt for Glory is you place one objective each, and at the end of a battle round where a player scores 1 victory point for each objective they control, and the battle ends after 3 rounds. So at the end of that battle, the player with the most victory points is the winner. So that was the first scenario, and the Winds of Fate was the one where it gave the extra initiative dice for each round of the game. So everybody in all of the 6 games played that same scenario and had the same twist. And what it meant was, if any questions cropped up at all during that round, they tended to be they were relevant for everybody, really. So if there was any questions about the scenario, it was much easier to communicate it out. It was much easier to remind people, don't forget your twist, you've got an extra initiative dice. It was that kind of stuff. So it worked really, really well. I'm not sure if that's how other people have done it, whether they've just drawn something and got people to set up terrain at the start of each round, whether they've got them to pull out twists themselves. But I just found that the less moving parts there were, the less things that were open to kind of interpretation or could unbalance the game slightly, the less they were of that, the better the game would run. And that certainly seemed to work. Where are we at? Pete hasn't read anything about them, but just love the models. Pete, if you do get a chance to read that, so in the anthology, there's the first story is about the Unmade, and it explains kind of a lot of their background about how they come to be, what they come to be, and sort of some of the stuff they go through, and it kind of focuses on a few characters and almost that kind of it's not even like it's this just like sort of blind following of some kind of chaos god. There's kind of, I don't want to spoil it, just read it, okay? It's good. Tom there saying, thought he said every table had own twist victory conditions, but the terrain was the same. No. So yeah, I think that's been cleared up now anyway. Pete saying I'm super gluing metal washers to his bases for magnetized carry case. That works better than putting magnets on the bottom of your models. I think I had this conversation with somebody about it actually, where basically I once played a doubles game. So it was myself and somebody else we're playing Age of Sigmar, by the way. I had my Beastclaw Raiders with magnets on the bottom. My friend who was playing had, I think it was Oryx with magnets on the bottom. Our opponents both had, I think it was, might have been Flesh Eater Court or something like that. Was it Legions of Nagash maybe? They had magnets on their base, and at one point during the game, one person moved a model which kind of set off this this chain reaction, which made all of the models on the board seem to jump up and attract to each other, and ended up in this one big clump in the middle of the board. So ever since then, I've never put magnets on the bottom of my bases. I would do probably what you're suggesting there. If you really want to magnetize stuff, put the metal in the bottom of your miniature and put the magnets in the trays. That would certainly be a better way around, I think. Stormont Gamer's back now. Welcome back, buddy. Yeah, so Agents of Sigmar just asking about putting the magnets underneath that, Alex. That's exactly why I didn't do it. So Nick says, I do magnetize on the base, but can see the advantage of washers and pennies. If you're going to magnetize, I think just put one magnet right in the center of the base if you can. If you put them too close to the edges, it just creates chaos when they all start to bounce together. VG is looking at green stuff there as well. Pete's on about magnetic sheets from Amazon. Nick says no spoilers please. Yeah, I didn't want to try and go into too much detail because the story's really good. Skullmunch is saying I'm on the Corvus story in the anthology. It's such a great book. Yeah, I've only so far finished the first 2, so I finished that one, and I've also finished the Cypher Lords, which is the second one. I finished those 2 so far. Bevis is saying I ran his Warcry event the same way as me. All the same missions for each table. Makes it so much easier to judge. 100% it did, mate. Yeah, any questions that kind of cropped up were all related to the same thing. So I wasn't trying to remember 6 different scenarios. Stormont Gamer says, glad to hear this. Planning to have terrain set up with victory pre-generated for each round table. It worked really well. What I did was I paired everybody up almost just as they signed up. So the first two people that signed up played each other. I didn't tell them that initially, but that was how it kind of panned out. And then from each round, obviously from then onwards, I paired them up as in kind of strength of schedule. But what I tried to do was to try and make sure that nobody had played on the same table twice. I think maybe at one point I kind of got to the point where I couldn't kind of get away from that. But it was to try and just keep people moving around really, rather than keep setting up the terrain again and again. Marcus is in as well. Good evening, Marcus. He said, I'm thinking of building a tabletop for Warcry with a metallic bottom to lay the board on. Then I can magnetize the bottom of the terrain and have it not moved. Somebody else mentioned this to me as well, and I thought it was a really clever idea. Just get a metal sheet to go underneath the board, so that when you sort of, like you say, so you magnetize your terrain that keeps it in place. We didn't find, or certainly I didn't find, that the terrain moved around too much. The boards are a little bit shiny, but I didn't find it moved too much. I might be tempted to try and put some rubber on the bottom of the terrain. Maybe a really thin kind of bit of rubber just to stop it moving around. Might do the same thing as well. Nick Moore says Cypher Lords are dark. Yes, they are, mate, that's for sure. Red Rose Wargaming saying, are you going to December Warcry event at Warhammer World? I'm tempted if work will let me have the weekend off. Yes, mate, I'm already going. I bought my ticket quite some time ago. Really looking forward to it. I'm just going on my own. I'm not traveling with anybody else. I really love the game. I want to get as many games as I can. I want to meet as many Warcry players as I can. And what a better place to go and play it in Warhammer World. I've never played an event at Warhammer World before, for all I've attended. I've been to Warhammer World for kind of a day out and stuff many, many times. I have never actually played a game at Warhammer World. I've only ever really visited for a bit of a look around the exhibition stuff and kind of hang out and get my Bugman's beer and all that kind of stuff. Do a bit of shopping. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. First time I'll have played there. Bit of chat there going on. Marcus is saying about rubber spray paint. I use it for all my X-Wing bases when I played. I didn't know you could get rubber spray paint. That's quite interesting, because I was trying to think of a way to make it really just to stop it kind of moving around too much, because those boards are a little bit shiny. Yeah, rubber spray paint. It would have been nice to do before I painted the models though. Lisa, and do Untamed Beasts recruit from across the realms like Sprinted Fang? Wonder if mixed race warbands will be a thing, or are they a tribe and stick with their own? I think from what I remember, they do kind of sort of, they're their own tribe. They're from a certain part of the All Points, which is kind of the realm of beasts. I forget what it's called now, but that doesn't mean that they wouldn't have kind of got there from migrating at some point and stuff. And then certainly the other side is as well with the introduction of allies as well from the mercenaries. You still get a bit of a mix of stuff. You could always kind of create a story for yourself that at some point one of the mercenaries decided to kind of stay with the warband and recruited in with them. So if you want to mix and match a little bit, mate, then mix and match. It's your warband, you know, you give it the story. Red Rose is saying, hopefully see you there. I'll get you a Bugman's. Thank you very much, then, mate. I'll be very kind. I'm sure I'll buy you one back. I will be driving, so maybe a shandy. Lee saying, on the topic of the novel, that is. I must have missed that conversation there. Yeah, first one's Unmade. Second one is Cypher Lords. Yes, that was what. Those are the two I've read. Is that not what I said? Yeah, those are the two I've read. Lisa, and I'm still trying to get into the Warhammer World event. I'm still going to try and get to the Warhammer World event. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be well organised. I mean, it's Warhammer. The guys know what they're doing there as well. I think off the top of my head, I think it's £30 for the ticket, which is it's not a cheap ticket, to be fair, but you do get lunch included. You also get access to the what's it called, like the exhibition centre as well, which you'd normally have to buy a ticket for. And it's Warhammer World. It's nice to have a bit of a day out and stuff like that as well. So yeah, that'll be where I'm going. Malkavian's in as well. Good evening, Michael. How are you doing, buddy? Peter Nicholas is saying, "Hey peeps, a thumbs up now, saves coming back later." Yes, feel free to give the video a thumbs up. That's much appreciated. So I think, like, from what have I learned? What would I do different from doing that Warcry event and subsequently any other kind of events as well that you might be running? I probably would have given myself a bit more time to decide on which scenarios to do and to try and kind of work out which twists went best with them. I think I did a decent job, but with a bit more experience now, I probably would have done that a little bit different. The other thing I didn't have was I didn't have any kind of software to make up the pairings from the strength of schedule. So I had to do it all in my head, really, or with a little bit of maths. And so I had to try and make sure that people weren't playing against each other twice. They weren't playing the same opponent. They were playing the right strength of schedule. I tried to keep people apart who travel together. So, for example, Sean and Ruth obviously only ever played against each other beforehand. The last thing they wanted to do was travel like for 2.5 hours to come and play each other again in an event. So I tried to keep them apart. So it was stuff like that, really. I think what I would like to have done was have some software that would have took a bit of pressure off between rounds. Luckily, because it was quite a casual game and people were finishing their rounds quite early, that meant that I had time to get those matched up with each other. I didn't check people's lists. Now, I ordinarily would have done that if it was a more serious event. This was much more casual and much more fun, and I trusted people. Everyone filled in their lists. So if you go onto the Varanspire website, you can fill in a warband list which spits them out into shield, dagger, and hammer. I also made them keep them for the entire event. So whatever you put into your shield was your shield for the entire event. So everybody wrote down their lists and had them to show to their opponents. But I didn't go and check them, and I didn't check the points. However, I would have done had it been more serious. It was because of the nature of the event. People could decide first thing on the morning, I want to take part. They could go into the Element Games shop. They could buy a warband on the Saturday. They could build it up on the Saturday night. They could play it on the Sunday morning. There was no painting requirements. So I was a bit more relaxed with that kind of stuff. In the future, I would probably get lists in advance of it as well. But other than that, it went pretty smoothly. Like I said before, one of the things that surprised me was how much enjoyment I got from seeing other people enjoying playing the game and kind of enjoying the event. So that was pretty cool. We had the official Warcry support pack as well with the nice gold, silver, and bronze medals, certificates for sort of first in faction things as well. So yeah, it all went pretty cool, to be fair. Tom says, did you also follow the point system from the core rulebook under tournament player? I did and I didn't. So the one I used was the one that Warhammer World are using in December, because the one in the book does not mention a draw. So in an event, there is a case where you can time out and neither person wins. So in the Warhammer World event, there's 10 points for a draw. If it times out, and neither person has taken out more than half of the opponent's warband, there's points for a draw. I did 20 points if you won the scenario and you had taken out half or more of your opponent's warband. You got 20 points. If you won the scenario but you didn't manage to take out half of your opponent's warband, you got 15 points and your opponent got 5. And then I did a 10-10 for a draw as well. So I used those rules. Stormmonk is saying Untamed Beast for life, or until I get the itch for a new warband. Now we've seen, I think it's the Spire Tyrant we've seen. Is it the Spire Tyrant we've seen a little glimpse of, or was it the Scions of the Flame? I forget which one it was. Whichever one I've seen. That I think, yeah, I'll be looking forward to picking those ones up soon as well. Flying Mama says, need to write down twists because I forgot every time. Yeah, that's the only other thing. Maybe in the future I'd do I'd maybe do a printout for each table so that they had what the scenario was, what the win condition was, what the layout is, sort of just photocopied from the book. So with a bit more time and a bit more prep, and if it was a bit more serious, I'd maybe hand out one for every round for the tables. Bevis is saying, can I suggest Challenge as a good basics tournament software? I'll have to check it out, buddy. I'd never used anything like that before. I was aware stuff that people use things like Best Course pairings and that kind of stuff. I was aware these things existed, but in fairness, I think I only really kind of realised I was running the whole event, I think, on the Saturday. So it was kind of it was a bit of a surprise, to be fair. Beyond Hope says, evening folks, forgot this was on. Good job. YouTube allows playback after the stream. Welcome to the chat, Beyond Hope. And yeah, it does. These basically, if you ever kind of don't tune into these live streams, they're always there. Some people put them on in the background while they're doing a bit of painting. It's nice just to kind of hear a bit of hobby chat. Almost use them as a bit of a as a bit of a podcast, really. Bevis is saying there, use it if the games are running and don't have their own tournament software. One thing I didn't do either was I didn't take part in the event myself. Because it was the first time I'd done it, I didn't want to also, and I was lucky that 12 people signed up for it, and I didn't have to be the spare person. But I think playing in it and trying to run it and record everybody's scores would have been a bit more challenging. So it was quite nice to not be part of it. Lisa, and thanks, was thinking of mixing the skin tones of my warband. I know in the lore, Splintered Fang will grab folk from anywhere and recruit them, but wasn't sure what the official was. I think I wouldn't worry about it, man. I would just just read in however you want to read into it. It's your warband, give them their own story. I wouldn't worry about having like sort of the official law for this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, these are warbands, little kind of sort of settlements out in the middle of the all points. Who's to say that there's only ever been kind of one race of people or whatever it is? I'm sure these things would have been mixed over the years with travellers and capturing people over time and all that kind of stuff. Flying Mammal says, after the intense game on the Saturday, you needed a break. Yes. So, I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I mentioned it in the Facebook group. Ruth and I played a game on the Saturday. Ruth's Corvus Cabal against my Untamed Beasts. It was by far, hands down, the best game of Warcry I've ever played. I wish I could play it all over again because I enjoyed it that much. I've never had a game that swung backwards and forwards where you think I'm completely out of it and then something happens or a dice roll doesn't go somebody's way and then you think I can get back into this. The game went backwards and forwards. It really was like a game of chess where we were kind of sitting across from each other, kind of like laughing about it, saying, well, if I do this, then you'll do that, and then I can do this, and then you'll do that, but I can't do this. There was a point where basically, I forget which model it was, but one of Ruth, I think it's the one with the big wings and stuff. One of Ruth's models was sitting on top of an objective. My guy was sitting on top of an objective, my first Fang, and he threw his speared her, pulled her across the board 6 inches, which dragged her off the objective, but then managed to drag it on top and being able to kind of contest for my objective as well. So any other number than having 666s would have been great, but it was just that back and forth of the game, and my brain was aching by the end of it, but I had such a good time playing it. Ruth's in there. I think everyone's lists were fine from what I saw. I think everyone knew and was just trustworthy. Yeah, like I say, it was a casual thing. Nobody was really trying to game the system as far as I could tell. I think if there's kind of sort of a bit more serious tournament, I can imagine that you'd certainly need to maybe check them over. Skullmunch says, I had 2,000 points. And you still didn't win. Paul says the wind condition. I think it might be my accent, but I definitely said the win condition. Yeah. Stonemonk says running my first Warcry narrative event in less than a month. Tons to write up, but still using a lot of match play cards. Yeah, all you can do really to try and minimize the variability on the day will certainly pay dividends, especially when you're doing a narrative event as well. I was listening to it on your Dogs of Warcry podcast. So anybody that hasn't listened it out, Stonemonk Gamer is one of the hosts. If I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying, the kind of the main dude when it comes to the Dogs of Warcry podcast. Absolutely fantastic podcast. 4 episodes in now. always on my subscribe list. Always listen to it when I'm driving to work. Really excellent piece of podcasting, so please do go and check that out. Paul said it would look dodgy if the person running the event ended up winning it. It won't be the first time it's happened, mate. It won't be the first time. And yeah, I think the way you tend to do it, which kind of backfires a little bit, is you can't just give the person the automatic win if you play against them. You have to give them a good game, but then you can't really take the win off them. Because you shouldn't be eligible to win it, or maybe you just don't take any points. You play the game as you should play it, but you can't win the event or whatever. I wouldn't feel comfortable, I think, if that was the case. Paul saying, good you're over your illness, Andy, by the way, as well. Yeah, Jesus. That cold seemed to come and go, man. I was full of cold the weekend of the event as well. I hardly had any beers. I think on the Saturday I had one beer all day, and then it was ended up onto coffees when everybody else was kind of drinking beer at 11:30 at night before they all went out to a few pubs and stuff later on. But yeah, I'm definitely over the worst of it now. Bevis is saying 100% agree. I have a force ready if there's odd numbers. It's stressful, but I'd rather stress than someone sitting out. Yeah, people have paid money to come to events and stuff. People have travelled long distances. I don't want anybody getting a buy and kind of sitting it out. That doesn't really help anybody, that. Tony's saying he didn't make the weekender and have never had the chance to play a tabletop beyond RPG in his teens and early 20s, and he's painting Big Marv and listening. Nice one, buddy. We'll have to get you to weekender 3. People having a bit of a chat there. Flying Mama says it also took over 2 hours. I didn't realise the game lasted that long. There was a lot of talking though, and because it was a nice friendly game, we did chat about a lot of stuff through that game as well. So it was cool. It was cool, and I think we were explaining how the game worked to Peter and Andy, who were watching at the time as well. Tim says, what war and are you going to use at Warhammer event? Or what war band? I haven't decided, mate, if I'm honest. I'd quite like to use Splintered Fang, I think. I might use my Splintered Fang, but I'm not going to win it. I mean, so competitive-wise, doesn't really bother me. I've still got the Unmade left to paint, and I still have the Corvus Cabal left to paint. If I can do a nice job of either of those two, I might run one of them. I think I'll probably play whichever one I've painted the nicest one and kind of give them a nice run out at Warhammer World. Nick said he did his own Varan Scribe. Yes, he did, mate. And Paul said, I genuinely thought it was a wind condition. No, mate, I think it's just my accent. It's a win condition. So that what is the victory scenario condition? Beyond Hope is saying 2 hours. How many rounds did you play? I can't even remember how many rounds we played. Did we only play like 3 or 4 rounds? We might have played 4 rounds, I think, but we were taking it really slow, like kind of like laughing and joking about it as well. But it was a good game. Flying Mammal saying kept going. Was it 6? I forget now. It was a long game though. Lee says, second that about Dogs of Warcry, excellent. Also been listening to the Mortal Realms for a long time. Yeah, same guys as well. So Eric and the guys do the Mortal Realms podcast as well. So if you're into Warcry and you want a bit more kind of lore about how Age of Sigmar feeds into this, the Mortal Realms podcast is definitely worth a listen as well. Excuse me while I have a drink. Yeah, I'm drying out a bit at the minute. So, so what's everybody else up to then anyway? What's everybody else playing? There's lots of things going on at the minute. We're at that kind of time of the year now where we start to see a few Kickstarters coming in. So there is Joan of Arc 1.5 has just finished on Kickstarter. Anybody that missed that one will get a chance for late pledges later on. We've got League of Infamy from Mantic Games coming very soon as well. October 25th sticks in my head for some particular reason. I went out for a few beers yesterday with my brother-in-law Jason. We were having a right old good natter. He was playing a few games of Warcry as well with some mates of his. So I think we might be getting a nice little kind of local northeast Warcry scene going with a few of his mates and stuff as well. And we got on chatting about new Call of Duty Modern Warfare coming out on Friday. So I think I might be picking that up as well. What else is happening? What's everybody been up to? What are you folks playing outside of Warcry as well? Because I'm concerned that some people I don't know why, but some people don't like Warcry and they play other games. So yeah, what else are you up to too? Robert Marshall's in. Good evening, Robert. How are you doing? He said he's finally made it in, just building another Lehman Russ great kit. Those kits are old, but they go together really well. I built a few kind of years ago for my son. He had a bit of an Imperial Guard army many years ago, and I remember building them Lehman Russ kits. Really enjoyed building them. Claudio is saying as well that the weekend we got our second German mini tournament of Dead Zone, and we had a blast. And I somehow managed to win against first place. The top table was an absolute chess close game. When you're into that kind of when you really understand the rules of a game and it goes beyond just playing and it becomes about strategizing. For me, I don't tend to play much. I don't tend to play games as often as I'd like. So I tend not to get to that level of that kind of deep strategy when it comes to a game because I'm using all my brain power to remember the rules. It's one of the things I love about Warcry is that the rules have never been a barrier to me, and that game against Ruth just goes to prove basically that sort of that level of strategy makes the game really deep on what is relatively a kind of would I say a shallow rule set? I would say a simple or an easy to learn rule set. But yeah, I think Dead Zone it can be very similar as well. Although I think the rules are and the list building, I'm not a big fan of list building. But I think the rules are probably a bit deeper than Warcry. Paul's playing Night Vault, got his Beastgrave stuff to paint, All Out War to learn as well, and he's got the new Gaslands book. There was a few guys playing a game of Gaslands actually over the weekend when we were there. Had some really nice cars and some nice gates and terrain and stuff to play on as well. It looked really cool. Agents of Sigmar are, of course, playing Beastgrave. I expect nothing less from you, gentlemen. Craig said he backed the Tiny Epic Dinosaurs and the Zombicide 2nd edition. So tell me, Craig, what's the benefits of 2nd edition then? I haven't really looked into it at the minute. Is it really worth the extra? If you've already got Zombicide, would you still go in for the 2nd edition? Let me know a bit more about it. Greg Cherry is in as well. Good evening, Greg. Says lots of Hellboy. Yeah, have you got your new box full of evil? Has that arrived as well? Flying Mammal saying nothing. Warcry is live shopping. Yeah, I've had a really, really busy week. This is nice for me. I get to kind of hang out and talk games for a bit. Luckily, I had a good natter with Jason yesterday, but other than that, it's literally been work, all day, every day for the last week. Edward Pickin is in as well. Good evening, Edward. He said, I found your channel about a week ago and I've just started my first 40k Death Guard. Nice one, buddy. I guess you must have found it through the Painting the Death Guard videos in that case. How's it going then? Is it your first... You've seen your first 40k Death Guard. Is it your first 40k army or is it your first Death Guard army? Let me know. Agents of Sigmar and Pete and I played Wildlands last week. I've heard a lot about it. That's the Osprey game, isn't it? I've heard a lot about it, but I've never played it. Did you enjoy it? Good game? Bevis is saying 28-player Blood Bowl League and obsessed with Gaslands right now. I'm hearing a lot of a lot of love for Blood Bowl, obviously, but I'm hearing Gaslands is getting a bit more love now. I think that second edition of the book seems to have given it a little bit of a kick again. Skullmunch is saying, good to see you in, Edward. Noxie saying we'll be playing Kill Team at Newcastle Shop 2 weeks on Wednesday. This week is the end of the Warcry campaign event. We'll be going to watch. 2 weeks on Wednesday. I'm trying to think. If I'm not busy, I might pop down and say hello, mate. I might call down there. It'd be good to see some Kill Team getting played. Beyond Hope says total noob to tabletop stuff. First of all, welcome. I'm not that much of an experienced gamer either. I've got loads of passion for gaming, but I haven't got a lot of experience. So I've started this YouTube channel 3 years ago, but I only really started gaming probably about 10 or 12 years ago, and I had a big gap in the middle of that as well. I've only really been gaming again for the last 3 years. So yeah, don't worry about being a noob. It says, reading up on Kill Team and Warcry, prepping some teams. If I can do the diamonds on Harlequins, I'll be happy. And those Oryx are annoying me. If you can do the Harlequin diamonds, well done. G Daddy Gamers in says, cool, I get to catch some of the stream during lunch. Nice to have you, buddy. How you doing? What you having for lunch? Christian saying he was playing Burrows and Badgers Kickstarter. Oh, the Burrows and Badgers Kickstarter drops on the 20th of October, and he's been neglecting the hobby in favour of playing PS4. I have not played PS4 in a long time, and sitting chatting with Jason, he's banging into Apex Legends at the minute with season 2, season 3, I think it is. But yeah, he's diving back into Modern Warfare as well on Friday, so I'm tempted to pick that up. I do love a bit of Call of Duty. Claudio saying, totally get you. It's the same with Dead Zone with me. If you know the rules, you can so many tricks out of your sleeves, and helps playing other players in the UK. Yeah, 100%, mate. It's one of the things I always used to like about Mantic Games rule sets, is that they were always that little bit more straightforward than the heavier games. Things like sort of other stuff I'd played. War Machine, Malifaux was quite in depth when I first started playing it, but it was the only game I played. So I used to play it a lot when I was a bit younger. But like things like 40k, things like AOS, I always felt I was just battling to remember the rules rather than actually sort of playing the strategy of it. So yeah, I get where you're coming from, buddy. Kirill's in as well. He said he's ordered Kings of War 3rd edition PDF some hours ago. Still waiting. That's strange, buddy, because there was a lot of chat on the Facebook groups today as well, wasn't there, about people getting their PDF versions pretty much straight away, and the people that had pre-ordered them didn't have them. So there was a bit of whinging and twisting about that, I think. But yeah, I'm sure an email through to Mantic if you don't get it in the morning, buddy. Nick said, just been painting terrain since the weekender. Nick, you were only ever painting terrain, mate. It was good to see you playing some games that weekend. I have never met anybody that paints as well and as much terrain as you do, mate. You've obviously found your tricks and stuff that makes you get like blast through it quickly and really gets it to a really good standard. But yeah, so Nick does pretty much most of, if not all of, the painting of terrain for Element Games. And anybody that saw the amount of terrain that's on them walls in Element Games will know just how much Nick paints. Greg said he hasn't touched a box full of evil yet. He's been getting his ass kicked by the Nazis and the worm. That tends to be what happens. Richard Smith's in as well. Good evening, Richard. He says, right, that's my untamed beast clipped off the sprue and in baggies. Night, guys. The missus wants to watch some telly. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy whatever you're going to watch, buddy. Ruth's having a chat with Christian there. Lee saying he's mad into Blood Bowl at the minute. So I forget now, Lee, what Blood Bowl teams are you running at the minute, mate? Because I know you're playing a lot at the minute. Are you sticking with one particular team? Are you kind of mixing and matching just for a bit of fun? I forget which ones you're playing at the minute. Sean's just telling Kirill about the rule book. Edward saying, yeah, it was through the painting tutorial and it's my first 40k army. It's going really well, thanks, and it's good fun reading the fluff. Awesome, mate. If you're not already a member of my Facebook group, apologies if you are. I don't remember everybody who's in there, so there's about 650 people in the Facebook group. If you are on Facebook and you want to join the Facebook group, and this goes for anybody as well as Edward, it'd be really cool to have you in there. It's a perfect place to kind of show your painting pictures, get some tips from people, show a bit of progress, get a bit of encouragement, see what other people are doing as well. It's a nice little community just to kind of help you along and give you a little push to get some stuff painted as well. Craig saying it only has a green horde, so felt getting this was worth it. It's got the updated rules, the new dashboards, and some awesome models, plus the campaign expansion and RPG. I didn't realize they were doing an RPG, mate, but that's cool. I guess if you don't have the original zombie side, it probably makes it a bit more of an easy choice. Miniature Adventures is in. Good evening, Miniature Adventures. He says, hey, buddy, will you be covering any call to arms? Miss your reports and DIY stuff. Seems call to arms has faded fast on YouTube. I want to do a video, but haven't got the rules yet. I'll be completely honest, mate. I'm probably not going to cover Call to Arms. I'm just not as keen on it versus The Walking Dead. They're two very different games. They're aimed at different people. Call to Arms is designed to be a more tournament-focused, competitive game set. And I prefer the all-out war narrative storytelling, working my way through the comic books. I'm not a big fan of list building. So Walking Dead All Out War serves me much better than Call to Arms does. Doesn't make Call to Arms a bad game. it's just not the kind of game I enjoy. And as I've always done on this channel, I only cover the stuff that I enjoy, the stuff that I'm playing. There's no point in me just making videos, kind of free advertising for other companies if I don't enjoy the game myself. It's one thing I always say is that I'm honest about what I do, and if I'm really enjoying the game, then you'll see the passion and my enjoyment come over it. So yeah, call to arms, probably not, buddy. But yeah, like I say, it doesn't make it a bad game. It's just doesn't push my buttons. That's all. Paul saying he's not sure, to be honest. I think must be talking about the Gaslands book there. I think G Daddy's having a turkey sandwich and Doritos. I do like Doritos, man. Is it? What's the ones that the chili heatwave ones are a bit special. I do like them. Craig's got the new Judge Dredd on pre-order as well. I thought that was out now, mate. Does it not come out for a little while? Is it? Skullmunch is saying, yeah, it seemed to just drop off the face of the earth. Yeah, I think the problem with that was if I can be critical about it and be honest about it, because that's what you want from me. I think it got lost. There was videos in the build up to it, and then once it was available, it died a death online, and Mantic were ready to move on to whatever the next game was at that particular time. It was probably Kings of War 3 rulebook, whatever it was, and that was a shame, really. So from a Mantic point of view, they didn't seem to outwardly sort of like where were the battle reports from those guys and stuff. It was a shame, really. To be fair, the original All Out War took a little while to pick up a bit of pace. Maybe Call to Arms does the same thing, to be fair. Paul Palms is saying I got his Beast Grade from Element Games. Great service, delivered to Spain very quick. I'm glad it got in decent time as well, mate. Anybody that does want to check out Element Games, I have an affiliate link, and you'll see that affiliate link at the bottom of the description of all my videos. If you click on that link, you get the same price that you see on the screen, the discounted price that Element give you, and I make a small commission just for kind of sending you their way. It means that you can support me and what I'm doing with the channel without it costing you any money just by shopping at that store. If you play at a local game store, please do support your local game store. But if you buy your stuff online or you don't have a local store, then by all means check out elementgames.co.uk. Steve Evans is in as well. Hello, Steve. How are you doing, sir? G Daddy says, my wife is amazing. She also encourages my hobby. Congratulations, buddy. Not everybody has the support of other half. My wife is also amazing, and she's massively supportive of everything I've done with this hobby and stuff, especially with the YouTube stuff and the kind of the amount of time and dedication and space around the house that it takes up. So yeah, it's nice having the support of other half. Sean saying mine does too. Can't shut it up talking about Warcry. Yeah, you've got ready-made gaming buddies there, you two. VG and Martha saying, how do you juggle Blackjack Legacy and AOS streams? Yes, you have to pick and choose, buddy. I think they start at 10 o'clock, don't they? Steve saying, thought I was going to miss tonight, just sat down to paint some abyssals. You're probably coming for the best bit for you, buddy. We've done a little bit of kind of about the Warcry tournament. We've done a bit of chat. We're just having a ramble now. We're talking about all the different games that everybody else is playing. What are you looking forward to seeing this year? What's on your shopping list? What are you looking to pick up? Lee saying he's in 2 leagues at the minute. It's Dark Elves with the Newcastle Warlords and Nurgle with the Geordie Blood Bowl League. Luckily, I'm playing often enough I can switch between the two easy enough. Nearly 40 games in 2019. I'm trying to think if there's any game I've ever played 40 games of. Probably when I used to play Malifaux and War Machine, I think I've probably played 40 games of them. Or is there anything else? I've probably played 40 games. I'm not sure. I'll probably get close with Warcry, I think. I've done over half that now anyway, to be fair. Bobby Clark says, just painted his Scott Moon and the Governor. Pretty cool models, but I've not played The Walking Dead yet. If you're Walking Dead, again, is a great game. It's the game that got me back into gaming. It's the game that got me into YouTube. And I will always say good things about The Walking Dead All Out War. Really do enjoy that game. It's a narrative game. It's a fun game. You can the rules are not really designed for tournament play. If that's your bag, Call to Arms is where you want to be. But if you just want to play the comic book stories out and paint some cool models, yeah, Walking Dead All Out War is awesome. VJ saying he's been here for an hour. He's going to give the AOS lads some love. Say hello to them for me, buddy. Thank you very much. Craig saying it's due to ship in November. I knew it was soon, mate. I knew it wasn't too long. Bevis is saying the new Gaslands rulebook's amazing. They've put so much silly, fun stuff into it. It's written by someone who wants to have fun. That was my impression, really. I mean, the first one wasn't badly written or anything like that, or badly published. But the second version, they've beautified it a bit. They've took it up a notch. Skullmunch says they seem to release and move on. Call to Arms, then straight into Kings of War 3. Now that's dropping. It's moving on to League of Infamy. As much as I like the Mantic guys, don't get me wrong. They're kind of their friends as much as anything else as well. But as a business, I know exactly what you mean. I'd rather, because they do have a video guy. They have plenty of people who would help them out as well. They've got rules committees and all that kind of stuff. They rely upon a big community of people. I'd much rather see, once something launches, where's like the how to play videos, the learn to play videos, the kind of, like some kind of tactics things or that kind of stuff. I'd like to see the games supported, be that from a blog post, be that from Facebook posts, be that from YouTube videos, be that from Instagram pictures, whatever it is. I'd like to see more post support rather than just a case of hand it over to the community. It's out, buy it, it's all yours. Right, we're on to the next stuff. And I appreciate they're busy. Don't get me wrong. I know they're busy, but that's my one kind of criticism. I would like to see that handled better. If on the other side of the scale, obviously from a Games Workshop point of view, they're a much bigger company, and I do appreciate that they've got more people and it's very different. However, with their Warhammer TV, they're constantly doing their live streams. They have designers on talking about the game. They have the podcast stuff. They cover a lot of different stuff. And I'm sure with a bit of help and support, if they ask the right people would help them. But they put a lot of effort into that build-up. And then again, as you say, and I agree with you, you don't really see a lot after the launch, which is a bit sad, really. VGCNC, some of you in the Discord. Yes, mate. Catch you later on. Stormont Gamer says, running a match play event, did your players feel like the narrative was preserved, or was there still narrative fun being had, or was that a concern? The game itself is quite narrative. I think just like by some of the abilities, so the way the Corvus Cabal can kind of swoop down, the Untamed Beast with their spear and being dragged off. I think there's some narrative elements in the rules. And the fact that some of the victory conditions, the deployments and stuff, had a bit of a story to them as well. I wouldn't say it was as narrative as I would have liked, but I wouldn't say it was missing, and it certainly wasn't it wasn't a criticism by anybody. I guess the players are in the chat as well. They could probably tell better. Do you feel like you kind of had was there a bit of a, even if it was just in your head, was there a bit of a story to each game? Busey saying he's ordered Beastgrave through my link below and created an Element Games account. Do I still need to use the affiliate link below, or will I now be linked to it with my account? You need to use the affiliate link every time you order something. I think if you click that link to go through to Element Games, it does remember you for a certain period of time. But just what I would say is, if you save a favorite on your phone or save a favorite on your PC or whatever you're using, if you save the link to Element Games as the link in my description, every time you go to shop there, you'll kind of reactivate that link. That really helps me out, and it doesn't cost you anything more. So I do appreciate that support. Marcus is saying he's just gluing the Raptorix to their bases, and they'll be a pain to paint. Yeah, I've stuck mine to the bases as well. My idea being, if I can't get there with my brush, I ain't worried about it. Robert Marshall said, it's class when my wife says, do you want me to get you any plastic crack? It's my birthday coming up soon as well in November. So my wife's already there looking to see what stuff I want. Skullmunch said it's set to 2 months. Yeah, Christian's saying I think use the link once a month. I think. Yeah, yeah. If you like I say, if you save it as a favorite, it'll link you through. But yeah, just it's much appreciated. It's much appreciated. I'll say that. Skullmunch said, "I'm a nerd and checked the cookie expiration date today." Thank you, man. Paul said, "Love painting the all-out war zombies with the BlackJack technique." Thanks, buddy. They looked awesome as well. You did a great job with them. Steve says, "Really want to put together an undead zombie-based army for Clash of Kings next year. So that's what I'm looking to get next year." Nice one, buddy. So you're gonna just go with the new Vanguard stuff as well? Are you gonna pop some of them in? Are you gonna try and undead some other stuff up as well? Tim Kelly says, "What is the League of Infamy? Is it a dungeon crawler or a board game?" It's a board game first. It's a dungeon crawler. Yeah, it's a dungeon crawler. Basically, I hasten to say it's a standard dungeon crawler. It is a good dungeon crawler. I played a game of it at an open day when I was kind of signed to NDAs and stuff, but there's a lot more information available now, so I'm not breaking any NDA stuff. And essentially, basically, you play as the bad guys, where you work together to try and raid the dungeons, if you like, from the good guys. However, you are encouraged to basically screw each other over. So there's a bit of a take that mechanic within the game as well. It's a board game, as in it'll be on a board, and in the same way kind of Dungeon Saga is, or Star Saga. But yeah, there's some really nice minis in there from what I can see from the sculpts. It's not something I'll personally be picking up because I've got dungeon crawlers and stuff coming out of my ears with things like Hellboy and Hero Quest, for example. There's plenty of other stuff there. It's not something I need. I really enjoyed it. However, I got the most out of it because I was playing with a big group of people. If I was just going to play it as a straight board game, kind of two-player, I don't think I'd enjoy it as much. So if you're somebody that gets in front of sort of a good gaming group where you could play through loads of missions and things, I think you get the best out of it. Claudio says, "I love Mantic and I'm totally with you." Yeah, they're good guys, and you can't always hide behind we're a small company thing for too long. They've been going for 10 years now, and they might still be a small company, but they have a lot of different games. They put out a lot of different sort of gaming systems, and the worry is that if you market a certain way, you only end up marketing the current players. So, for example, the build-up for Kings of War 3 has been very focused at current Kings of War players. So it's been talking about what the changes are, what the new rules are, what you can expect. There hasn't been a lot to tempt players that have never played Kings of War to pick up Kings of War 3. I mean, I know they've just done some stuff with Beasts of War, or on tabletop as they're called now, so maybe that might change a little bit, but I feel like they employed a video guy. They've got staff there now who can play the games. They've got the rules committee who help them. I just wish they did more to kind of. They are the perfect company as an entry point into gaming because their rule sets are much easier to get your head around when you don't know anything about tabletop gaming. The Walking Dead is perfect. Dead Zone is perfect. Things like Star Saga are perfect. Dread Bowl is a fantastic game. I just wish I wish they weren't spread so thin, and I wish there was more support really after the launch. I mean, a kind of gripe of mine really, like Vanguard had that expansion book in the summer, and it almost kind of limped out. I didn't even realize it had launched really. So the guys have got their hands full, and I'm sure that's their business plan, and I'm sure they know what they're doing. That's my criticism, really. That's my opinion. Flying Mammal, where was that? Just jumped off the top of my screen there. Flying Mammal, where was it? Yeah, made our own stories and fun. Yeah. Cool, saying it's a cooperative dungeon crawler and evil characters. Flying Mal says, "Yes, BlackJack cake alert." Yes, November's my birthday, so my family are asking me what I would like, what do I fancy. So I'm trying to work out what I'm quite fortunate really when it comes to things like Warcry and stuff. I've got a lot of the stuff that I want. So there's nothing I really need, which is unusual for someone like me. And I'm trying to restrain myself from buying stuff that I don't need anymore. So yeah, I don't know what kind of hobby stuff I'll get for my birthday. Paul saying, so birthday party stream in November. Shots of tequila on the stream. My birthday is actually on a Monday, so I've got the day off as well. So I'm doing something with my wife during the day. We might go out. I think we're going out on a Sunday night actually. But I have got the day off for my birthday. But I don't see any reason why not to have a birthday stream. We can still do that, can't we? And I'll tell you when it is. I won't tell you beforehand, but when it is, I'll tell you when it is. Eduardo's in as well. Good evening, Eduardo. Says he's painting a slaughter priest and an exalted deathbringer as mercs for his untamed beasts. Did you use mercs in the event? We didn't use mercs in the event, purely because there was a couple of players had never played before, so they were just getting introduced. Only one person asked me about mercs, and had more people wanted to use them, I probably would have included them. But it was quite a beginner-friendly event, really. I don't even know if the Warhammer event in December mentions mercs either. It's something I'll have to check into, actually, because I've still got my mercenaries here ready to paint up. Dominic said he's painting 2 lots of iron golems in the evenings and gluing Warcry terrain on my brews at work using my videos, and going to start giving some games to the lads at work next week. Nice one, buddy. That's the way to do it. Get them involved. Paul says Dungeon Saga will probably be my next Mantic game. Dungeon Saga is all right, actually. It's not too bad at all. It definitely invokes memories of kind of a Hero Quest, that's for sure. And Dominic saying he don't think anybody uses mercs. No, they didn't, buddy. Malkavian says, isn't Dungeon Saga due a revamp? I don't think it is, mate. I think that's where the confusion lies. I think Mantic mentioned Dungeon Saga was going to get there was something coming for Dungeon Saga. I think League of Infamy is what it ended up being. So I don't think Dungeon Saga is going to be touched. I think League of Infamy ended up becoming something slightly different, where I think maybe originally it was intended to be part of it. I could be wrong on that, but that's my understanding from what I've been told. Skullmunch says 2 Ogre Breaches sounds nasty. I'd quite like to run 2 of the I forget what they're called now, the cats for untamed beasts. I'd like to run 2 of those and see how they run. Busey says I'm using the BlackJack technique now for the Walking Dead. Only thing is I put too much sand on the bases and it's made cutting in the feet a bit of a nightmare. Don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about cutting in. Get some little grass tufts or something and put them around the feet or something. Or what else could you do? Or don't worry about it. Just sit. It's not the end of the world. Don't worry, man. And Paul saying, okay, thanks for that, Michael. He's got a lot to be getting on anyway. And all this Warcry talk has made me think I need to pick it up. One thing I would say, buddy, is only pick stuff up if you can get games of it in. I never want to encourage people to buy stuff they're not going to play. Just because I love something and I'm passionate about it and I'm fortunate that I have people out there watching me. I'm not trying to sell this stuff to people. I'm just telling you what I enjoy and stuff. So never feel like you're missing out on something if it's something you don't think you're going to get to the table. Steve says, interesting to talk to the Mantic guys the other week. Said they were saying they sold more 3rd editions already than they did of 2nd. I think a lot of people just used the kind of the free rules online and stuff, and didn't necessarily buy into the books. The books for 2nd edition weren't technically anything special really either. I think they've definitely pushed a lot more effort into the 3rd edition book. There's a lot more lore in there as well, and I guess the game and the audience for Kings of War 3 has grown because when Kings of War 2 was out was when it was at the time when Warhammer Fantasy disappeared. So yeah, I mean, all power to them, and I hope it does well. But I feel like they're missing the trick a little bit. That it's not being marketed. It's not being pushed to new gamers or people that don't play that game currently. Or certainly, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not seeing stuff, but from what I see online, it doesn't feel like it's been sort of targeted at people that don't play the game. It's been targeted at people who were always going to pick it up because they already play it. Where are we at? Christian is saying you can never have too much paint. I have too much paint, mate, believe me. Peter's saying, assuming there's going to be a weekend of 3, will it be next October? We're 99% sure there's going to be a weekend of 3. I had a chat with Jay. I met up with him last week. We had a coffee and a bit of a natter. We talked through some stuff. And we said we're going to give it a few weeks, let the dust settle, like not get wrapped up in the hype of what a great weekend it was. Be a bit more kind of objective about it. What didn't work so well? What could we do better? What would we do different? And then we'll put something in the diary. However, we had 2 weekenders this year. That could mean that we might possibly have 2 weekenders next year, and we'd obviously try and keep them about six months apart. So I'll let you kind of rest on that one, for example. Paul saying he watched this stream so much now I can't help saying Mantic in a northeast accent. Is there an accent to Mantic? Is the way? How do other people say it then? Busey's saying he still wants the Hellboy game as well. Skullmunch saying Rock Tusk. I am awful with names. You know I am. Rock Tusk Prowlers, yeah, nasty with extra activations from the Beast speaker. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Because you can. Because you obviously get that extra activation, can you imagine using your Beast Speaker to use a wait action and give that same ability out twice? That would be nasty. Adam's in as well. Good morning, Adam. How are you doing, mate? Christian saying weekend of 3 should be in April. It might be close to then. If we do it, if we confirm it, it's going to be close to then, buddy. Let's just say. Paul said, I think I have more luck with Warcry with the girlfriend than with Kill Team from what I hear about the rules. Warcry rules are definitely more straightforward than Kill Team, without a shadow of a doubt, mate. Bit of chat there. Paul said needs to speak to his accountant. Paul McElroy says there has to be a weekend of 3. Skullmunch says 3 weekenders next year. Yeah, I don't think I could manage 3 weekenders. What we are doing is we have been looking at dates. So, for example, as an example, Salute is in April. So what we were thinking, would it end up being a bit of an expensive month for people? If some people want to go to Salute as well, would we want to try and separate them a little bit? So these are the kind of things that we're trying to consider as well. We're trying to think of it from the point of view is, we know the weekend is not a cheap weekend. Yes, the tickets are not overly expensive for 3 days, but I do appreciate people have to pay for hotels for 2 nights. There's obviously a lot of food and drink involved as well. And I'm sure you want to buy some toys and things as well while you're there. So I am aware that it can be quite it almost becomes a little mini holiday. So it's not the cheapest of things all told, if you kind of, by the time you factor in hotels and stuff. So we're just trying to make sure that we don't clash with anything where people feel like they have to make a choice. And it also depends on elements, free weekends as well. So we need to work around all them things. Noxie's saying, yeah, I'm confused now. How else do people say Mantic? Peter saying, everyone there, 52 weekends in a year. Paul says, I say it in a soft southern way. I'm not even going to try. Do you say it without the T? Is it softer? Is it like Mantic? Craig says Skyrim from Modiphius is dropping next year. Looks interesting. We had one of the Skyrim miniatures to give away in our raffle for the weekender as well. They look pretty cool. Flying Mama says coming to see you soon for a rematch. Someone just we now I need to see now. You all need to go into the Facebook group, and I need you all to record videos of how you say Mantic and why is it different to the way I say it. Paul says, get a marquee, Andy. Stick it up in the garden for the weekender. People to stay over. Make yourself a few quid. I tell you what, mate, if I thought I could get away with putting up a big tent, I would do. You just don't get the weather over here. We'll have to come to you, mate, I think, if we're going to do that. So, yeah, we're coming up to 10:30 now. We'll get to wrapping it up now. What I would say is thank you, every single one of you, for coming in. Apologies I missed last week. We should be back to normal now, back on every Monday. And I do have a bit of some plans in the background about how I'm going to adjust my personal schedule to start getting back onto the videos again, because I miss doing them. I've kind of tied myself up with not a lot of spare time. And it becomes kind of self-inflicted, really. I need to start getting up earlier, staying up a bit later, and making time for stuff. So I will get back to that. And if anybody is still wide awake and they want to go and watch another stream, please do head over and check out the Agents of Sigmar. Their podcast started at 10 o'clock. Please go and check those guys out and give them a bit of love. Let them know I sent you over. Give them a thumbs up as well. It's always good to see other channels kind of getting a bit of love as well. And this is an awesome community. So yeah, help support some other people as well. So thank you very much, everyone. Hashtag Top Bants, as Flying Mammal saying there as well. Thank you, awesome everyone that's been in. And I will see you all in next Monday's live stream. Thanks for watching.